This is Introduction to Business Administration, and I'm quite sure most of you who are here might be for the first time you are attending this lecture today. But nevertheless, we have all the records via our social media, YouTube channel, and also you can get these notes from our Google account. Today, we are going to look at one of the modules under Introduction to Business Administration, which is the business environment. Of course, when we talk about the business environment, we talked about all the external and internal factors that influence business operation and decisions. And we have two major components of business environment, which is internal and also external. So understanding this factor is very crucial to ensure that your business becomes successful, your business makes enough profit, because in the previous lecture we said one of the primary objectives of business is to make profit. When you're not making profit, you're not doing business. So what is internal business environment? Internal business environment, this includes factors within the company or within the organization that affect its operation. And you know, when you're trying to define words, you just look at it internal, just bring some understanding from other aspect of your learning, bring it in. So what are those key elements? We talk about the culture. Let me give an example. Many people who worked in, perhaps maybe you've ever heard of ADRA. So their culture is that on Friday, around 12, no one is supposed to work. People need to go home because they believe that Sabbath is about to start and people need to go and prepare themselves for Sabbath. We have a lot of cultures that one can actually give example to, which can influence the operations of the company or of an organization. We talk about management styles. We have a lot of management style in these modules. In this course unit, business administration, we are going to learn about leadership. We are going to learn about management. But let me give one specific example here about management style. We have something called authoritative. We have democratic management, whereby you give a lot of decision to the subordinate, to the staff to make decisions. But in other organizations, in other companies, you will see that the top line management only makes up decisions which can now become a policy in an organization without consulting the implication of this decision that they made. We look at the organizational structure, the organograms in the organization. Is it easy for you to access the senior management easily according to the structure, or there's a long way for you to go because there are other things that you need to talk direct so that it can be incorporated into the decision? Example, you are deep in the field and you really need somebody for you to decide on something. But if the organizational structure is not very clear, you will see that even the communication in the organization is going to be really, really affected. We can talk about employees and workforce. The type and the numbers of the staffs in the company always affects its operation. Example, if you have few staffs to do a lot of work, it cannot move. Let me give an example with the Bristol Institute. Now, if Bristol Institute would have to have only 2 people to run the whole institute, you will see that its operation will be affected. Therefore, having a lot of staff matters a lot. And also likewise, you can have a very small company, but you have a lot of staff. Some staff become so redundant. They don't know what to do. That's also affect operation because the cost of operation will go high. This includes the salary, it includes the allowances, internet uses, and the rest of the thing. But in fact, the workforce will be down. Then to add on, we talk about the resources. We talk about the finances, the financial resources. Let me give an example to the recent USID dilemma. Most of the USID funding has been stopped, which has drastically affected the staff who are being funded through the funding from the USID. So this is because the resources which that company has without USID will not be in position to do programs and also to run the operation. Under that, we can talk about the technology or technical. So if, example, you are farming using, you have a company which deals with farming, but you are using an hand hoe and there's somebody who's using tractor, you can see how this will work in terms of the operation. Now, that is about the internal business environment. What about the external business environment? The external business environment encompasses factors that are outside the company that influence its operation or its performance. So we can categorize those factors into majorly two. We talk about the micro environment, we talk about the customer, talk about the suppliers, talk about the external competitors. The external competitors can be some companies who are dealing with the same products or the same goods or services like your own company. And then we talk about the macro. Macro, we talk about the economics, we talk about the political, we talk about the social, we talk about the technological factors. Let me give an example. You are operating let me say you're operating in Juba, but most of your raw materials are being brought from the village. So let me just be specific. Let me give an example of Yambio. Yambio has like they produce a lot of fruits, and you have a company that process fruits into juice. But now there's war in Yambio, the political instability. So, which means you are not going to continue bringing in the raw material from Yambio to your factory, and therefore this will affect your operation because of the political instability. What about the economics? What are we talking about? We are talking about the crisis. We are talking about the inflation in the market. We are talking about the exchange rate. So the higher the exchange rate, the lower the value of our local currency, which will automatically affect your business, because today you've changed money 500, tomorrow you are changing again at 600, and then the profit you have calculated based on the exchange rate of 500. This really affects a lot. But we can have some other things like the market, like market trends. We can have like economics, climate. We can have like legal factor. But let me first talk about the market trends. You know, like we have trends in the market. I know most of you are stylists. They know which trends are in the market. Let me talk about when Gucci came in the market. Most of the items were on hold, most of the clothes. So many people are going to Gucci fashion because that is the trends in the market at that time. And those are under external business environment. Now, let's look at the economic system. Under economic system, we look at the market economy. So market economy based on supply, based on demand and supply. And then we look at what we call command economy. Command economy is where the government actually control the productions of goods and distributions of goods and services to the community. They control it in terms of the numbers of goods which can be produced, including the pricing and the rest. So we talk about a blend, let me say mixed economy. Mixed economy is a blend of market and command economy. This is where the decision is based on the supply and demand. At the same time, it is also controlled by the government. So what are their impact on the business? When you talk about market economy actually encourages innovation and competitions. Of course, when there is competition in the market, there is assurance of quality, because if you don't have good quality, then obviously you're going to not have customers. Then another one, under that we can talk about the price. As long as there's no monopoly in the market, more people will be more competitive in terms of their pricing. If somebody is putting a glass of water at 1,000, of course, for you to get profit, you can put on at 900. That help customers to actually enjoy that benefit of low pricing. Then the command economy, it's less flexibility for businesses. Actually, there's no flexible. Everything is fixed. The government will say the oil price should be $22. Let me say 22 pounds or 22,000, and that is it per liter. There is no change. It is going to be there. I think this kind of economy we try it some time back when our oil was in a fixed price of 22 pounds, and we have seen how the rates of dealings in black markets has really increased in the country, which caused a lot of people. There are some few people who have been arrested for smuggling oil so that they can go and sell in a higher price. And then mixed economy, of course, there's balances in regulations of business, and then there is also what we call business freedom. Business freedom is whereby the supplier and the customer have that, fair ground of negotiation, fair ground of interactions, where there is no interruption from any other external person. So how economy affect business operation? Of course, customer behavior in market economy, demand drive production, while command economy is state-driven. When you talk about state-driven, which means it is a bit of the power belong to the government. The government decide on what is supposed to be done in the business. And then when you talk about pricing, in free market economy, pricing is flexible. But in government control market, most of them is pricing is fixed. There is no negotiation and the rest. And then you talk about potential pricing in economy system that influence business profitability with market economy typically offers more opportunities. Then what are the roles of government in business? But before we move into that, I would like to really get from my student if there's question from down there. All right, what are the roles of government in business? One of the roles of government or one of the influence of government is regulation of legislation. We talk about the law, talk about the labor law, talk about the environmental protections law. Now, when you talk about labor law, what comes in your mind? Labor law is the law that protects the rights of the workers for you to understand what is your right in terms of the working hours. How many hours are you going to work? So what are your responsibilities? So it helps you to understand very well, and these are the roles of government. We talk about the taxation policies. Of course, in the country we have a lot of type of taxations which we are going to learn in other course unit, but we know we can talk about the PIT, which is personal income tax. We can talk of BPT, and this BPT is business profit tax, and then we can talk about the sub-tax, which is recently introduced in the country. And all these are the roles of government, how government really influence the business world. Then we talk about the trade policies. We talk about the import. We talk about the export. So which type of goods are supposed to be imported? Which type of goods are supposed to be exported? Of course, you cannot bring charcoals from another country. So there are these specific goods which cannot be brought from another country. Let me give you an example. I know most of you people tried your best to maybe reach to Uganda. There is this goods like milk, this powder milk. If you want to take it to Uganda, you are highly taxed at the border because the Ugandan government are trying to control taking those type of goods in their country. And then we can talk about this alcohol, the one with the red tips. Most people call it, some people call it people's power. You know, they have really, our government has really controlled bringing of this alcohol in the market because, number one, they will affect our health. And it's the responsibility of the government to ensure that the goods which are brought in the country are healthy, affordable for each citizen to really get it. This can be done through the Bureau of Standard. Actually, any good which is brought in the country is being tested first before brought in the country. These are the roles of government in business world. And then subsidies. I don't know if some of you knows about the pharmaceutical products which are coming in the country. Most of them are subsidized by the government. They've given some money to the big company so that the essential goods should be brought in the country. And these are the roles of government. We can talk about incentive. Normally, our government used to regulate our economy through putting in money in the market. And this is to ensure that our traders are able to access the foreign money. I know they have the disadvantage and the advantage of it. But if it is well regulated very well, these are good things. These are roles of government in business world. And then, how is it so important? Really, how are those roles so important? Those roles create legal regulatory framework within which business in the country operate. Example, we can talk about selling in marijuana in the country. Of course, the government knows that if youth allowed to buy and sell marijuana in the country will not have future in the country. So we need to have a legal regulatory framework to ensure that this should not be done in the country. Influence on the market, competition, and entry barrier. When there is competition in the market, of course, that barrier will be determined through your pricing, through the products that you have. If you have good products, of course, you're going to get a lot of customers. And if you don't have, of course, you're not going to get, because the market is free. Then, what are those regulations? What are those business regulations that we have in the country? We talk about the South Sudan Labor Law of 2017, which ensure you to have the rights, to know your rights. I talk about the rights of when are you supposed to start working, the rights of the enumerations or your salary, your wages, the working conditions, how it's supposed to be. So this itself is like a motivation to the employee. Then we can talk about the environmental regulation, the policies on pollution, waste management, and sustainability. Of course, these regulations help a lot to ensure that we have healthy place to stay and to operate our businesses. Example, in many countries, including South Sudan, factories and industries have a specific place to stay. They are not brought closer to the citizen, to the people, because number one, the waste that they're producing is so toxic to the people, which will enable people's health to be affected. This help a lot in regulating such kind of thing. And then we can talk about other things like deforestation. The other companies that really comes a lot, like to do lumbering, we cut a lot of trees, but government always bring policy to regulate that. We can talk about a company, an Indian company called Amol. It has operated this side of Eastern Equatoria. They were cutting a lot of trees, but what they did was, when you cut one tree, at least you need to plant 2 trees. Though we have the pros and the cons, because some of these regulations need to be followed up so that the implementation should be up to date. We can talk about the tax and financial regulation. Of course, we talk about the tax policies, which I'm not going to repeat. We talked about the type of taxes. When is a company to pay tax? On which situation is an individual supposed to pay tax? Whose responsibility is to pay tax? You should not pay a lot of taxes, a lot of percentage. You should not also pay less. There are that standard percentage that is given for a company or an individual to pay. Now, what are those impacts? Of course, they can actually increase operational costs, but also level the play field for all the businesses. And also, they encourage ethical practice and long-term sustainability. I want to talk about the ethical practice. So, ethical practice is that formal thing or that you want to do before doing something. Let me give an example. The Jongole oil field was supposed to be open, but very unfortunate or fortunate is that they require that company to do environmental assessment, and the company failed to do environmental assessment, which make to the standstill of the operation. Of course, talking about the business environment, let's talk about globalizations. What is globalization? Globalization is referred to the increasing interconnectedness, interconnectedness of economics, businesses, and culture around the world. This involves the movement of goods, services, capital, information, and people across border, leading to a more integrated and interdependent global economy. Example, now people have this e-commerce whereby somebody can just advertise his good from wherever, from his compound, from another country, and then you will just buy it and then sending money. You don't need to take the cash money, but you can use your Visa card. Most people who use EcoBank knows it. You can use a lot of means apart from this normal cash, the traditional way we used to do. Let me give an example. The most recent thing that happened. I had wanted to buy a laptop from Kenya. The most simplest way is just to get the specification of laptop, send to the company, wire the money through my Visa account, and then you just get the money, confirm it, send it direct to me, and I pick the laptop from Juba. This itself reduces the rate of the cost of me going to Kenya, getting a laptop and coming back. What are those impact to the businesses? Number one, access to the global market. You can now buy goods from India, you can now buy goods from China, you can now buy goods from the UK. When you are seated here in Juba, when you are seated there in Malakal, when you are there in Wow, you can buy. International competition. We talk about the advantage of competition in the market. We talk about the advantage of free market economy, which allow the suppliers and the customers to interact. This leads to quality goods and services to the final consumers. We talk about easy movement of access of resources and technology. In resources, we can talk about the financial resources. We can talk about the human resources. With these global villages, makes it more simple for people to move around, makes it more simple for money to be now in 1 minute in Kenya, another few minutes money is already in United States of America, another few minutes it's here in South Sudan. So we need to talk about the positive effect of globalization. We talk about the market expansions, of course, the access to international customers and access to international market gives the opportunity of growing in terms of market. You can stay in Juba, but you have your customers in Dubai, you have your customers in Malakal, you have your customer in Uganda. That is really, really very good, because what matters a lot in business is how you can grow your market, and growing your market, which means you are also trying to grow your level of potential profits. In the let me give example. You know, when you go out there to fish in River Akobo or River Nile or River Sabat, if you have a larger net, you can catch a lot of fish compared to somebody who has a very small basket in his hand. So that is the example I can tell you about growing a larger or a bigger market compared to somebody who has market within Gudele one here. Then access to new talents. Of course, by marketing yourself, you will have access to the talent pool and innovation. Let me give an example. You wanted to do your website, but you look around South Sudan and there's no one who can do that specific website of yours. After advertising, you will get a very good person from India who will do your website with that feature that you need to be in the website. Cost efficiency, we talk about low cost of production through outsourcing. Outsourcing is the process of looking at outside source of either goods and services. We talk about the increased competition, of which I'm not going to repeat. Talk about the technological advancement, of course, global exchange of technologies. Of course, you might not have enough technology within the country, but with this globalization, you can have some good technology brought from outside the country. What about the negative one? Intense competition in the market. Local businesses always struggle against the larger multinational companies. Let me give an example. We talk about Coca-Cola company that has brand in producing the best quality soda. And you will start a soda with your name. Let me give an example. A soda called Oyet, which only Acholis are the one who knows the name. So how can you compete really in that bigger market? It is really very, 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 very difficult. Not only that, multinational companies always have larger capitals. They have representatives almost everywhere. They have a wider way of advertisement. But for you, you are here struggling with your, struggling to post things on your Facebook account, which you have only 20 followers. And most of these followers are only your brothers and your sisters who are even having, low level, low economy. They are not working. They cannot even afford buying it. I'm just giving an example. We can talk about the cultural challenges. Adapting to different custom, preference, and regulation is very, very, very hard. Let me give an example. In South Sudan, we have a culture like Zulu culture. They believe more in their local food called kelo. And then we have this French fried chips, which is internationally recognized. So now, how will you ensure that those Zulu deep in the village started liking that? So which means you have to take more time to understand the culture. You have to take more time to understand the preference. You have to take more time to know what they like. And also, not only that, that country regulations or rules really allow your goods and services to be as a formal good in the country. We have World Cup coming up in Saudi Arabia, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs stated very clear that there's no alcohol going to be there because their culture does not support selling of alcohol. But now, the people who are going to come from other nations whose cultures are allowed to drink alcohol, example, if there's a Lotuko man there, you might need to take some kwete because for them they take kwete as part of their life. How is it going to really, catch up with this kind of environment? So there is that challenge of cultural differences. Loss of job. Of course, we talk about outsourcing. Outsourcing lead to unemployment to the local people because you will see that Mr. Yet is not enough to be a lecturer. So why can we get a lecturer from UK to come and lecture this module introduction to business administration? Automatically you have made me jobless. And this is another disadvantage of globalizations. Another one, we can talk about dependency on global supply chain. there is vulnerability in terms of interruption. Talk about COVID-19. A lot of businesses have been standing still because any global pandemic will always interrupt the chain of supply of goods and services in the country. COVID-19 made people not to travel. And we talk about globalization, we talk about the traveling of people and goods and services in the country. Now, you have a doctor from India who is supposed to come to Juba Teaching Hospital for an operation. But because of the pandemic, he or she will not come. This is another disadvantages that we have. Another one is environmental impact, increased pollution and resource deflection due to global productions and transport. Global production, you know that. Of course, when you're producing for the global scale, you have to produce a lot, which means if we are producing like timber, you have to cut a lot of trees. If you're making transport, let me talk about railway transport. Of course, you need to do a lot of environmental degradation to ensure that you are connected globally. So, with all this, is there any question, comments? The keynotes in today's lectures is that the business environment consists of both internal and external factors. Economic systems determine the scope of businesses operations, and government regulate industries, influence business strategies, and also create legal framework. Globalization transforms business practices, offering opportunities and also challenges. This is what you need to take